All right. So the main thing here is in our friendships, we have to be able to convey truth to other people, right? The truth is, that's not a smart thing to do, all right? And one other story I'll say is, like, I know a guy, I think it was his girlfriend's, I think, grandmother, or maybe it was, I forget if it's her mother or grandmother, right? She died, and so he wanted to go be with his girlfriend at that time, but it was snowing, and it was like 10 o'clock at night, and he wanted to go, and his friends took his keys from him and said, no, we don't want you to end up dead trying to go help be with someone that is, or lost somebody, right? So that's the whole thing. How does like sex trafficking fit in? Awareness. It means watching out for your friends. Families. Whoa, hey, there we go. All right. Education. You hear all the time like, don't talk to strangers. Parents are always telling their kids like, don't talk to strangers, right? That's a way that we can start prevention, start being, safer. Community outreach. Okay. One of the leading things of sex trafficking in the United States is that people say that individuals will enter industries, right, like prostitution, because they don't think that there's any other way that they can make ends meet in their life. That's the only job they think that will help them make it through life, right? So at a community level, not only is it safety. Have you guys ever heard of like the community watch or neighborhood watch program? Like usually you'll see the signs and you're like, yeah, we never like talk to our neighbors, but we have a sign in our yard, so we're safe, right? But this is like in reality, we have to watch out for one another at a community level. The next would be law enforcement, okay? Obviously, there's certain things that law enforcement can do that aren't appropriate for a community or for a family. Can you imagine like a dad going out and being like, oh, I'm gonna take those people down, Like going out into these high crime areas or whatever and risking his life. He risks then not only his family, but his friendships and the community as well. It's an unstable environment. The next would be state, right? Laws of economic development. Obviously, the state can do things that other levels can't. And economic development allows these people an opportunity to be able to have jobs and not have to enter into these industries and to make things safer. Has anyone ever seen the movie Taken?
Oh yeah, that's a great one.
Right? Yeah. So that does happen, right? That really happens. So we have to be careful, and that's where laws and enforcement come into play. Federal government, interstate regulations, right? So one of the things is that they can do more investigative work. They have more of the capabilities to do that the state doesn't even have, or cities don't have. One of the things that happens, and I'll get to this now as we go to global, is in this problem of sex trafficking, people globally will move individuals nation to nation or even state to state within countries so that they don't get found out. And that's where laws, regulations come into play. All right. So global, the biggest thing is economic justice. We have to be able to make sure that other countries have the ability to support themselves through these different things. All right, so I have this video to show that kind of summarizes everything for us, and I think it'll make things a little more clear.
As Catholic Americans, we want to be good citizens, so we look for policies that align with our faith. That means building a country that respects the dignity and rights of everyone, one where we can have a good job, a safe place to live, the medical care we need, and a good education for our kids. And really everyone agrees these things are important, whether you're Catholic or not. Where we disagree is how best to achieve these common goals, and in particular, what the role of government should be. After all, we don't want anarchy, that would be chaos, and we don't want an all-powerful government, because then we aren't really free. So as Catholics, how do we understand the balance between different levels of authority, and how do we know who should be responsible for what and when? The answer is a big idea from the Catholic Church. It gives us a way to understand the role of government in the broader effort to build the best country for everyone. It's called the principle of subsidiarity. The idea is that the responsibility for addressing social and economic problems belongs to the closest community or authority that can handle those problems. So individuals are responsible for things like doing their jobs, making purchases. Families are in charge of deciding where they want to live. Larger authorities like churches, community organizations, and local governments should do those things that individuals can't do alone, like protecting the homeless, feeding the needy, or fighting fires. Finally, state and federal governments should handle those big things that other organizations can't. Things like building bridges and fighting terrorism. Let me give you an example of what subsidiarity looks like in a family setting. 10-year-old Manny is responsible for doing his math homework every night. But sometimes he encounters a really tough problem, and he needs his mom to step in and help. Now, she shouldn't ignore him. She has